is yours.
Doctor, lawyer, I'll never be life of a drifter. Only life for me. Bang, bang, bang. Vamonos, vamonos.
Hello. Welcome to another dev stream for playing through StarSim. I'm joined with Vernus again.
Are you? I'm here? I didn't know that. I think what our goals today, we're trying to go through more of the main storyline, head through a little bit of Soul System.
Yeah, going through Constellation.
Cool. Let's do it. Let's get back into space and show off some cool stuff.
Was there something else?
Also, just to convey everything out from the feedback we've gotten, lots and lots of feedback. Creations page has already been updated. We've linked it in the Discord for what we've changed it to. It does go through QA, quote unquote, but it's just a page change, so it's usually very quick. And we've already pinged Bethesda, so that should make it very clear what is being offered from a standpoint of the feature list. And then we have created a new video on the breakdown. I'm going to link it again on the Discord, and I'll put the link also in the chat we have here as well. So this is meant to be really just an entire breakdown, specifically all the features that are within Beyond Space. So it should be clear, hopefully. We're hoping we did it this time, for exactly the feature list that's in Beyond Space and seeing them in action within the video itself. And then this stream is meant to be where you're literally seeing everything in action through an entire playthrough from beginning to end. So we did push the yesterday's stream. I'll get that links out later on as well. And then each of these we're going to do the same thing. Once we're done the stream, if you miss it, you can just grab it off of YouTube and kind of see what's happening. We are all still looking for focus videos on specific features to see every little thing we're doing. I think you're going to see a lot of it during, actually all of it during this stream.
Let's take a little stroll through.
And then we can try to see if we can take like snippets out of these streams or all the features kind of in action. Yeah, it's, you know, X4 is definitely a major part of this, right? You know, we're looking at X4, Elite Dangerous, Star Citizen, No Man's Sky. That's the big four that we're building off of right now. But I think we have an opportunity here. Everything's been pointed out in terms of learning curve. It's valid. And I think the benefit here is we don't need to have the learning curve that you typically see in other space sims. We can find ways to make this accessible. And I think getting an accessible space sim that still has all the depth is doable. I don't think you have to go through and do that stuff. Now, people enjoy it. I enjoy it. I love the Fog of War that's in X3. That's my favorite. I don't really play X4. I never really got into it. I think they changed too much from my personal preferences to it. I love the fact that you start with no knowledge and no anything. It's sandbox, and you've got to just figure it out, kind of thing. But I can get where folks don't like that, and it's actually a big complaint with a lot of the space sims, in that you just get thrown in the deep end with nothing to work with, and it's massively overwhelming to then figure out what to do. So provide the options, and I think that's what's going to be happening right now. What we have with version 1.09, we've already started development. Anybody on Discord, you'll see everything we're doing through the progress channel. The network map will start in default the way it is now, and then you can go into game options and say, I just want to see the whole map all the time, turn it on, boom, the map's always there. Then you can use it as the tool to find where you're going, everywhere you're doing. And then on top of that, I think, which is crucial, all the gates will now have their directions embedded into the name, north, south, east, and west. So obviously up, down, left, and right on the network map when we project it. I think those two are crucial. And so if you need the map as a tool, that I can get behind the fact that, you know, a lot of the map is already known, which will do a version of settled systems. So you should be able to see that stuff. And then on top of that, we're doing some other fixes right now as well. So
Oh, brother.
get the list here of the
recruitment offer, by the way.
fun stuff we're working on right now.
UC is a good friend to have.
We already fixed the ship stealth. We already have the hooks in that we need for any future modules, though I'm sure we're going to find others in the future. Sarah last night fixed some of the issues. Apparently, if you get EMP'd a lot, it seems like the repair rate is not used the same as it is for a damaged ship. It's interesting. We're still finding ways that the engine works for space. The engine always finds something new for us. Hey, Tennessee. So it looks like in Sarah's test last night, repair rate on a reactor applies both to damaged parts and EMP. But EMP then is further impacted by values that are on every single one of the parts that are on your ship separately from the way the damaged stuff works. And they repair differently. It's layer upon layer upon layer. And so repair rate was ramped up and works, and we know that, especially when you use like the ship parts or you get it fixed. But the EMP, if you got really EMP'd, was slower because of the fact that they also have values for like an EMP repair rate on individual parts, separate from the damage itself. So that was tweaked. We fixed a problem where if you went to a ship technician and you were at 100% whole, but all your systems were blowing up, the ship technician wouldn't fix them. So yeah, the frame of your ship is fine, but your engine's completely broken. We can't do that. That's fixed now. Everything else we're working through, so these are the big ones. There's some bug fixes. That scan option that's showing up on the network map, that'll be gone. Some improvements on how quickly the mapping table loads and unloads the best we can. Papyrus is getting hit quite a bit. That whole thing where you have to toggle the network map twice is going to be fixed. It's an old relic of some of the functionality we had a while back. We're going to be showing all the gates from Crete to Jemison and from Beta Turnian to Jemison for New Game Plus as actual objectives in the tutorial quest. So it'll blatantly show the route it takes through the gates to get to Jemison for that first part. And that should also help because you're going to throw quite a few systems to get there, making it easier to go in cruise mode or jump to a bunch of places for future quests. We talked about the game options for the mapping. That'll be in there 100%. One cool feature, which we already started working on, is, and I see you're turning on the network map now, thing 2. Come on, you can do it. You just have to believe. When it decides to come up. You can now select a destination orbit if you've already explored it or if you turn the entire map on, and it'll go through and calculate the path it takes to get there, and then it'll show it on the network map from where you are now and the gates you have to go through to get to, there it is, your destination. So you can actually plot the course on this map and then go, okay, cool, I have to go west and then north and then west, 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 and then north. Cool. And then on top of that, we're going to put the directions on the gates as we mentioned before. So now you can read those and go, cool, north gate, you know, Venus, east gate, wherever it takes you, the moon. So those should be a big, big help. The other big ones here. Fixing the bug with the gate connectors. Over time, the connectors seem to decide to fall off the screen. Actually, it looks like it's already happening for you a little bit. I don't know what's going on there. Weird engine bugs. We're going to be hard coding some of the gate paths on those first bits of the storyline so that they're already done and ready. So it should help a lot with just presentation and performance. And this one has been requested quite a bit. The connectors that you see on the network map, if it is a system order, there'll be a different color on the network map itself. Now this is, I think, important because borders of systems and borders of, I think you probably do them both, borders of the system and borders of territory is important because this is where a lot of content happens, right? Crete is the border against a bunch of unclaimed territory in the north of Star space. And north of that is a bunch of unclaimed area and a hotspot for the spacers. And to the east is where Crimson Fleet's whole territory is at. Most of their raids are going to come in and hit Crete a lot. So it's not simply a matter of understanding where the systems are and the territory border. These can tell you that, hey, if I'm looking for combat, I'm likely to find it pretty often at those borders. So we'll have that in here as well. So that's our breakdown from all the current feedback. We're going to attempt to do some stuff on the ship stats in terms of a dynamic system to keep them balanced, but we'll see because that's a massive undertaking. So for now, we want to at least get the whole navigational stuff completely cleaned up, get that pushed because QA testing through Bethesda can take a bit, get through the queue, and then we can go full force for 1.010 to just do a complete pass on balancing, dynamically pulling parts in that are unbalanced in StarSim and making them balanced so that we don't need to go and make a whole bunch of patches for all the ship part stuff. So that's our agenda right now. We need to get through all this stuff first before we can get back into development on what we call You Have the Helm, which will focus on autopilot, ship computer, orbit map, SSN and broadcast, and we're dabbling with a neat radio channels thing, which will be pretty cool to just basically joyride around. I can't wait to get to that part personally. Turn on autopilot, have it take me to wherever it is, and then I'll just turn on a music station and listen to music all my way through to get there. Very GTA-esque. Cool. So where are you heading, Zyla? You're in a gig.
Was, isn't it, for the first step of the quest? Because you need to speak to the bar guy.
Old neighborhood. Yes, in Sidonia.
Should probably add it as right, it's already tracked. Yeah. Suppose I can fast do the cruise mode then.
Yes, I will be pushing the map. I think we'll probably just push it after the stream. What do you think, Zyla?
Yeah.
We need that map out for now. And then in combination with these updates we're doing. It's just the problem is we can get these updates done. It's just the QA side is a huge question mark on this. So I would at least get the information out so folks can use the external map and they can use these new videos and stuff to keep playing as is. And then once those updates come out, boom, you have all that functionality built right into the game itself. There is custom music. Andy is our composer. There's 9 tracks. You'll hear them. It's any capital or city has custom space music. So I want to say it's Jemison, Mars, Gagarin, New Homestead are the 4 settlements for UC. Polvo, Aquila, Montera, Luna, and Neon. And then we have a Wonder track that plays when you first arrive in Vectera. So there's 9 tracks right now. And then after launch, Andy's been looking into expanding that out quite a bit. Like I want to get some really interesting stuff in for Crimson Fleet territory, House Faroon territory, stuff like that. So we'll be expanding that soundtrack all the time. And then Andy wants to obviously everybody listen to his awesome music, so probably do like a video with the current soundtrack now. Let me see. So my side 2 is 300 orbits. There are
Unless we're picking up parts at Deimos or digging for minerals, I hope you have a good reason for landing here.
10 derelicts spread out on the network. They're always going to be on the periphery. We're not going to do a lot that's right next to the settled systems area. Like, I believe there might be one, like, in the northwest area, but you've got to explore pretty far to find the derelicts. Otherwise, it unbalances the game, because if you find a whole bunch of derelicts right by settled systems and sell them, since we're not charging the registration fee anymore, you just end up with a monstrous amount of credits. So you've got to explore quite a bit, and we hide them. You cannot find them on the HUD. So they're hidden on the HUD, which is actually a vanilla feature that they don't use much at all. And you have to be within a certain distance to even pick them up. So you've got to explore. But I want to say we mentioned it a little bit on the last stream. We always leave breadcrumbs. So we're not going to have you go into an orbit that has like nothing in it and have to just guess a direction and fly 40, 50 kilometers to find a ship. There will always be something directing you to where something could be at in every orbit we're doing. It could be a trail of little small asteroids or visual effects in certain areas. So you really want to kind of explore outside of the gates. So the anatomy of an orbit, right, and how we designed it, within the 20-kilometer radius from the center is the area where all the ships and stations are at. They're not going to travel outside the network, rarely, unless they're patrolling, maybe. Then we design out each of these orbits probably up to 100 kilometers out. So you're going to have situations where there's encounters 40, 50 kilometers away from that central area where the network is at and the economy's happening. So you really want to explore each of these orbits. It's not just whatever's in that little area where the gates are at. We design far out from that point.
What do you say?
But yeah, about 10 derelicts. Now, granted, if folks snuck some more in when they were doing the design, they're not in the spreadsheet I'm working with here. And then overall, there's
I'll throw both of you out of this bar right now.
52 space encounters. So a lot of these are what would have been just you had to luckily run into them random when you went to certain planets. Those are now hand placed in certain orbits that'll trigger when you're close by. Some of them only trigger after certain quests are done, like Juno, stuff like that. Those are all there. And then we also have what we consider as anomalies or space encounters that we built, and those are another 10.
Yeah.
So I guess they'd be considered, there's point of interest, multiple can be in certain orbits.
Maybe. All right, I'll give up. Just trying to earn a living here.
Well, technically speaking, if you're using that spreadsheet that I linked the other day, if you don't want to spoil anything, stay on the map sheet. If you're fine spoiling things for you, you'll see there's sheets at the bottom that you use for development. Do whatever makes it fun for you, but if you go under orbit locations, you'll see everything we did for designs. You'll see what the encounters are, and you'll see the scenes that we designed that are spread out. If you're using the map from the website, we're just showing the map. Isla, I'm used to hearing. Oh. Yes, Isla, talk a little bit here. They want to go. They don't want to hear me.
Answer questions better.
Sense. So I wasn't watching the stream directly for a moment here, but I assume you're about to fly off to go find, was it Venus?
Yeah. Go to Venus, which I think has the Varun in it.
As I am Space's favorite feature that you maybe have to code more stuff for the ship stealth. So I suppose we'll do a little bit of a deep dive here on the ship stealth and how it impacts parts of the game. Since it's used one time in the base game. Oh, 2 ships there. Nice. Oh, and of course, you're always getting the quest target system actually working for you all the time. Oh.
Ship has spotted me.
So if you see on the stream right now that quest target, that's our current dynamic system we have in the game right now. So currently speaking, we're trying our best in a dynamic system using basically when Bethesda made these quests, generally speaking, they put a script on all of them that is able to, it helps the designers that are building this so they don't need to code everything. It can detect which space orbit you're currently in. And so they'll say, hey, it's a long list, and it'll say, if I'm on stage whatever in the quest, and you just arrived in Jemison's orbit, set the stage to this new stage and have the quest move forward. That's the most simplest explanation of it. Now, we have been able to then say, okay, cool. I don't want to go through in StarSim and edit every single vanilla quest to pick up. We're going to have to at least do that for the tutorial quest, but that makes it so that now we're further incompatible with everybody who's doing any changes to any quest, and we're incompatible with anybody in DLC quests and any quests that are made in the VC program or through creations. I don't want that. So the benefit of this current system is that as long as folks are using that script, the default, whatever it is here, we can go in there and say, cool, the intent of the quest by the designer was that if we're on this stage and we fly the ship into this orbit, the quest moves forward. Fantastic. So what we'll do here is say, all right, make me a path from where I am now to where this quest wants you to go. And as long as you set that script up correctly, we have our directions we need to get to that point. But the reason everybody's not seeing that happen often, which would also help a little bit with the issues we're having right now with getting from Beta Turnian to Jemison or Vector or Crete to Jemison, is that the pathfinding we're doing to figure out how to go through this whole map that's on the screen right now is complicated. And Papyrus is very slow compared to what is needed for those to be figured out. So the more complex, the more distance between the 2 points, the much longer it takes for it to figure out a path. So then those quest target markers don't show up. So it's an issue because we could go through and edit every single quest and just make it so it literally makes the gates objectives. So it's clear where you need to go, which a lot of other space sims do. But I'm trying really hard not to do that, to keep this as compatible as possible with everything. Because then if I keep it the way it is right now and then add systems like plotting courses, it's manual for you to get there. It's not going to just sit there and give you a little marker thing to say, this is exactly where you need to go. But the nice thing about that, welcome, Sweet Pea, and a party of 20 people. We're just doing a little bit of StarSim flying about right now. The benefit here is that it'll work with everybody's stuff. Always, forever. So, well, you're in for a treat.
Showing me the correct place to go.
I'm jealous, Sila. You're just constantly getting quest targets every time. Well, the quest targets are right. It's going to go, yeah, it's right. Go to Earth. Earth, and then it's Venus is next to Earth.
Oh, is it? Oh, yeah, because I came from the north and night from Mars.
Yeah. Well, it's also, you know, Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars. The missing asteroid belt that's not in the game at all.
Oh.
Jupiter's. What did you...
Crashed.
Oh, don't hit the frigate. Nice. So, we're not going to do it right now because we're going to do the stealth in a moment here, but stealth, it's situationally useful. So, here's where it's not going to be an impact in here. We're doing some more tweaks on it right now for 1.09. It'll work, and Tyam has used it a lot right now to sneak up. You can get within about, and this is just base game functionality for the way ship stealth works, about 10 kilometers. And then if something's hostile, it's going to detect you, whether you're in stealth or not. But normally, if you're 20, 30, 40 kilometers away, if you're in stealth, or if you're not in stealth, they will go and perceive you and then start working their way towards you. With stealth on, they will not until you're too close where they will detect. So I can see it situationally used. Me personally, I'm just going to boost and then run to whatever I need to if there's something I can't handle. But what's nice about it is if you want to play as a smuggler. So what'll be interesting here is you could basically ship stealth right before a gate to go in. And what's going to happen here is the security ship that's in each orbit can't detect you when you arrive. So therefore the ship's not going to come anywhere near you to begin scanning for contraband. What I want to know is how I start this from the beginning. Perfect. New game or New Game Plus? Because there's a little bit of a difference in the two. Because I would say New Game, I think, is more fleshed out than when you start in New Game Plus, because the thought process with New Game Plus. Right. See, the difficulty here is if I'm looking at somebody who's brand new to Starfield, they're going to start in New Game. Okay, well, we'll play out New Game Plus. New Game goes through a lot more tutorials for somebody coming into Starfield, and we're going to start seeing that a bit for folks that are space sim enthusiasts that never did Starfield, or they quit at day one because there's no space from their perspective. Eventually get out of this gate. I know you'll do it. So New Game Plus. You install StarSim Beyond Space. Now you have to do a new Game Plus. That's confusing. There's engine bugs where you cannot load up space cells other than through quests at all. So usually what Tennessee has been doing is install it when you're already in the Unity, like you're about to walk in to the orb thing, and then install StarSim, go through the orb, and you're fine. Everything works as it's supposed to work. Hold on one second. We're in this one party with Venus. Yeah. Dialogue. We should probably sneak around. House for Ruin. Da.
Would not be hostile if I pick the Varoon, that quest thing?
The Zealots don't care. That's why I think the Zealots even fight Andrasia. So I think they're their own thing. But I think they hard code these to be hostile to teach you the whole stealth thing. Oh. Well, there's your answer. Do it. Try it. I'd never seen this before, so this is news to me. Really? Wow. Okay. Well, that's one thing amongst many things that Serpent Embrace will do. So the folks that love it. Okay, so going back to, you start off on a very far out network orbit, Beta Turnian. So you'll start with the Starborn Guardian landing behind you. It does the usual initialization stuff, and then it's the same quest that goes and directs you. The complaint right now is that you're very far out, and the network is pretty much empty. We're going through steps right now to make that a bit easier. But once you're in space after taking off, it's just basically traversing the network to get back over to Jemison. So it's very, very west and very, very north. If I can get back in the map in the near future, we'll bring up the map and kind of really just do a quick once over on it. But in terms of playing, so if you're starting StarSim Beyond Space in New Game Plus, it's no different than if it's a new game. You just happen to have 2 ships instead of 1. And progression is, as Zyla's doing, through the gates to get everywhere. And the gates are basically established as like a 2D grid. So you have gates in like north, south, east, and west in each orbit up to those. And that's how you can traverse between each orbit. Every orbit has stations in it. All the ships and stations you see are actively doing something. They're trading, they're patrolling. It's happening whether you're in the orbit or not. They're simulated in a turn-based system. And this is what creates a bunch of emergent features, I guess you would say, as you're progressing, because a battle's happening in another orbit whether you're there or not. You may come in there later on and see the aftermath of some derelict ships and debris and stuff. You may come in when the battle's happening. You may come in right before the battle starts, and you can engage or not. You are a participant at all times. You're not required to interact with anything. Whereas in many cases, space encounters are 100% focused on you and you are required to engage at that point. Even if you decide to not do it, you're still pulled into dialogue. You're still having to do something. You're still pulled into a combat encounter. Here, you can do whatever you want. Now, there's consequences. If you're flying around in unclaimed space and there's no local military patrols and security, you can be engaged by spacer patrols and raids, Crimson Fleet, stuff like that, random starborn attacks. So there's a danger to exploring, but also that exploration aspect can gain you a whole bunch of XP, unique encounters that we put in the game, derelict ships, derelict containers, stuff like that. We've been building that list out on Discord. There's not much. Most of it are soft incompatibilities where things are working, but we need to make some tweaks, which we'll do within StarSim as much as possible. But stuff like watchtowers, basically fine. There's a weird thing near the end of it, but the quest still works. Yeah, nothing's any mods that go through and start you a different start, alternate start stuff, that does not work because all of them are changing that initial quest, and that's necessary for StarSim to function. That being said, I believe Sarah said some starts in those are working, like starting on Jemison for reasons. So I would say situationally they're not working. But beyond that, I mean, if I'm going through the list of what's been broadcast so far, shipbuilder categories, but Tennessee and I have found a way we can get around that and get that back in pretty easily. Exigent circumstances forsaken, but I think we just found a way to fix that as well. And that's it so far. There was a list made by Celtic that showed anything that was in conflict. So I think Celtic had 200, 300 mods, and the direct exit incompatibilities or conflicts was 12. So we're not touching much. Ship parts. Yeah, they're not balanced. Now, we may not even need the patches though, right? So you can either use back to vanilla if you want to go right back to vanilla stats, but be prepared because the capital ships are going to basically annihilate you. And then what we're going to be doing right now is a system where it'll basically auto balance. So you can put the parts on, design your ship the way you want. We will make sure that the ship itself is functional. What happened?
I think he's trying to put me in the cutscene, but it didn't put me in it properly.
Which cutscene? Oh.
Well, like it talks to you about the galactic star yard. It stops you from moving, but it didn't seem like it initiated properly.
I think it says not. Well, it says talk to Sarah. You gotta get out of your pilot seat.
Don't let me.
Well, try harder. Maybe save and reload or something like that. Or can you fast travel somewhere?
Nah, it won't let me bring up any menus.
You broke it, Zyla. That's worked before. You're breaking us. You're breaking it. I saw something else on here. Eris, what about the mining conglomerate mod? When will that get fixed and updated? Well, the fixes are done. We have it's been 3 months now in QA for the last bit of issues with the mission board. We just reverted it back to pre 1.1. We've been trying to get this dynamic thing to work. We had a perfectly working mission board before, and there were complaints on the server about, well, I go through the 10 missions and then it gets exhausted and I don't want to wait the hour or 2 hours for the other one, so we attempted to do something dynamic. This has been nothing but headaches since we did it, so we're going back, and it's going to stay that way. So 10 missions will be on there. We know it works 110%. Then you have to just wait until August provides you more missions and go do something else. It's not a mod where you just shoot through. And then we know it works, and we don't have to worry about this being a problem anymore. Now, the big thing with mining conglomerate now, so obviously this has been a complaint for a very long time, and it's a valid complaint outside of that stupid load bug, because apparently I guess it's a service we're doing for everybody in the VC program. We are running into every crazy engine problem that breaks everything. So whether it's a load time of 30 minutes to an hour, somehow, or millions of ref handles, or crazy bugs with the... We're finding them so that nobody else has to deal with this crap, like blueprinting ships and stuff, drastically reducing the ref handles. So, yeah, I guess we're going to have to. The problems with that would be, you know, once the stuff comes out, then, you know, the patch is kind of invalidated, but somebody can't necessarily delete it. So I think our approach here is going to be just have a perpetual beta patch that includes, you know, maybe even some of our test systems want to see to get some input for it. We'll throw stuff into those. I know Sarah's been really big on wanting to do this. And then this way we don't have to wait for the QA to finally complete the stuff. Once they update it, fantastic. The stuff we did within the beta patch is basically duplicated. So yeah, I think that has to be the pathway we have to take. I mean, StarSim was in QA for 6 months. We're at 150 hours of QA time to do this because of how massive this thing was. It's way beyond what they were expecting within this program. And it's way beyond what we expected building something to this scale. I'll never build another space sim again. This was nuts. I have all the respect in the world for EgoSoft and all those guys to build a space sim, because as we did it, we're like, well, it's just ships flying around in space and stations making stuff. How complicated could this be? My God, is it complicated? Handling all kinds of crazy edge cases all the time. We're in Nova Galactic.
Okay. It's not Vanguard.
This will be important later on in the future, but I can't talk about it right now.
Scavenging around here and someone else came in and said hello.
In terms of mining conglomerate, we now have the ability to go forward and finish up the stuff we wanted for the storyline, because at the time we were doing it, between dealing with that load problem, the voice actor strike was still going on, and it ran for almost like another year after we launched mining conglomerate, so we couldn't wait. And we were actually talking to non-union voice actors, and the problem is Bethesda is union. Even though we're third party, they are impacted by working on stuff that is launched in Starfield through this program. And what they were told by the union is if they took non-union jobs, or if they took jobs where they were connected to a union participant, they would be banned from doing union-based jobs in the future if they so decided to become part of the union. So it had a chilling effect across the board. Oh yeah. In fact, I think we've cracked the code on how to go and build all the modules for StarSim. And doing them completely standalone. So I think because that is now working, and we have a clear, strong foundation on this stuff, I think we're going to pull mining conglomerate back into the whole StarSim brand. So the whole point here is that you can look at Beyond Space as foundational. Like all these stuff, mining conglomerate works on its own. You have the helm, which will be doing autopilot. Your computer works completely on its own. You don't care about gate network and you don't care about a simulation. You can grab you have the helm and turn on autopilot and fly your ship around everywhere and do it perfectly fine. Mining conglomerate, stuff like that. But we feel the definitive space experience is going to be Beyond Space, mining conglomerate. You have the helm for autopilot. We have an economic module we're building, which lets you run corporations and space, stock market and all this stuff. And this really nice combat module for Hot Wars and private military company, all this stuff. And I think with all those, it's I don't like saying this necessarily, it's Starfield 2.0. Especially when you combine free lanes already out. Yak. Can you expand a bit on the stations producing items and doing stuff? I saw it in the trailer, but I haven't quite grokked what that means in terms of gameplay. Sure. So the economy is the backbone of the simulation pretty much in all space sims. So everything you're basically seeing is the economy's running, and then you're going to have military patrols and stuff like that protecting freighters, and then you're going to have some hostiles, whatever they are, looking to blow everything up. That's it. If you condense every space sim, that's what it is. Stations build, freighters move stuff, military patrols protect and response fleets and stuff like that, and then pirates and Xenon, like it is in X3, are blowing everything up. screwing the economy up and destroying the military. So same process here. A station basically has what we consider internal constructible objects. They're called products. It'll have products it produces and products it needs to produce. And those all sit in individual production cycles. Stations are always producing. If they have the resources, they're producing. It's over time. It's the resources, they consume the resources needed for one cycle, and then the cycle takes whatever length of time it needs to take. And that actually works very well for us because of the way this is term-based for the way the simulation works. So if Jemison is not loaded, you're somewhere else. It might be 2.5 minutes before Jemison updates again. And then what happens is it goes, what has happened over 2.5 minutes to every ship and every station in there? And then it's able to move all the cycles forward by 2.5 minutes. Every ship moves forward on what it's trying to do for 2.5 minutes. Done. Simulation's complete. As products are created, freighters then move those. So if it's a raw resources, a mine, they're moving ore and they're moving stuff to intermediate and final stations that need those to produce. And then the freighters are filling out whatever's needed forever. Okay, so right now, when you're looking at how you interact, right. So when you're looking at what you can do right now, the direct player interactions, everything is indirect except for where we were enhancing the Starfield's features. So there's a lot of space features that are basically never utilized in Starfield right now. That they've done a lot in these, but they just don't have any need to use them, like the ship stealth. You use it one time, maybe, and you never use it again. And the game doesn't even direct you to use it again for the rest of the game. The ship scanner, very situationally used in space, because there's not much in space to begin with to need to use it. Ship dialogue. You only run into that if you go into a planet that has a civilian ship that allows you to use the dialogue. So when we built this version, Beyond Space, the whole point of this was take all the features that are inside of Starfield now, because they built a whole bunch of them in space, and give them a purpose. And so ship stealth lets you actually move contraband around because the security scans are not immediate when you arrive in a certain orbit. They have to pick your ship, security has to fly to you, get within 2 kilometers, do the contraband check. If you're in stealth, they don't pick you, or they lose you if they picked you and then you went stealth. Ship dialogue. Well, now there's thousands of ships. So this gives you lots of opportunities to talk to ships to trade, or piracy is now greatly expanded because you can either force them to jettison with the little mini game that Bethesda made for the piracy and the dialogue, or you can disable them and take it over, or you can go and blow them up and grab all the cargo. So piracy is pretty much almost completely expressed within Beyond Space. The only thing we're missing right now, and something we've been dabbling with for a while, is the concept of false flags, where you can basically flag your ship a different faction to sneak through them, and then you lose that benefit if somebody scans you. Separate module. Everything's required to be separate modules and how this was set up. So Beyond Space, beyond bug fixes and tightening this whole process, is feature complete. And then everything we're doing in the future will be separate modules that you can snap on if you think that is beneficial to your space experience. So as we've discussed before, if you have no interest in massive battles and hot wars and combat, you don't even bother with that module whatsoever. If you don't really care so much about autopilot and radio stations in space, you don't bother with that module. You can just basically grab the economy module and you're done. That's all you need. And then we've been working with Bethesda to try to make it so that there's going to be ideally a perpetual bundle that will just snap these in, and then the price stays the same. Oh yeah, we did like some preliminary tests on a lot of these features are like partially developed, 1%, 5%, 10%, and they just need a lot more work and stuff. We've been testing and proof of concepting all kinds of stuff in space because we just need to see what this engine can actually support. And false flag is very interesting, where you're able to go and like set a faction within the ship computer, and as long as you're not in sensor range on security ships, they see you as that type of faction. And then if you were normally hostile with a bounty, you can get through those places. So it's really neat stuff. We want this to really be You can do anything in space. It is a sandbox. My goal here is, and you can't quite do it with Beyond Space just as it is right now, but you could go into Starfield and never land on a planet. You have so much stuff to do within space that it keeps you focused. Yeah, I think you might need to redo that digipic right there. So, because I don't know how many people in here do space sims, but I have 2,000 hours in the entire Egosoft series of games, X3 Reunion, Terran Conflict, Albion Prelude, and I have about 2,000 hours between every Bethesda game. So I play these equally. In space sims, these are huge games that you're talking hundreds of hours that you're in there. And I think the benefit here is when this is, even as it is right now, and as it's expressed over time, this is going to fill in everything in between what's already in Starfield right now. Pacing of the stories, things like that, so the stories flow better. The in-between those, you're traveling through space, you're getting diverted by stuff. Oh, you're being completely reprimanded. Unbelievably reprimanded. I can't believe it. No. It's good. And we've already showed a lot of this stuff too. I just linked the orbit view, the map yesterday. Orbit map, I can't wait to get back in again. We just need to tighten these things up. And I think being able to focus on them as a focal feature and something separate. There's too much stuff happening within Beyond Space. 80,000 lines of code. This is basically the amount of code in this equal to a game. It is a game in a game. And we got to really break this stuff apart because it's starting to actually cause problems with just how intricate. Papyrus is not designed necessarily to do this. So it's working, and it's working well, but we've pushed Papyrus way beyond what it's intended to be. It's just scripting, smaller things like that, and we're using it as a programming language. So we got to segment this stuff and then constantly tweak the performance as we start adding more functionality in. But this is the most intensive of everything we need to do for space simulation to work in Starfield. So it was crucial to do this part first, because everything else is more just player interaction, pretty much. Do we have a nice clean system for terminals to interact with certain things to let you access the stock market, transact with the station, things like that? That's not really intensive on Papyrus because they're like single use. Right, so find Moari's ship. It's a benefit too. We basically have the ability right now to create a space sim from scratch. Literally when we built StarSim, it was like 2 globals set off and like a keyword removed. And space became empty. Completely, other than some hand play stuff. Empty. Shut everything off. Space encounters stopped. GAN stopped, everything. So I think that's what appealed to us when we came over here from just pure indie development was we're given a perfect clean slate to build it as long as the engine can support it. So now we can build it using, I would say of all space sims to date, nobody compares to how space feels in Starfield when you board a ship and try to take it over. 0G combat, stuff like that. None. And I think you take those features that are really strong in space in Starfield and you build a simulation around it, this becomes the best space sim that's out right now. Now, I can't solve, especially for consoles, seamless landings and taking off and stuff like that. So No Man's Sky's got us beat for that stuff, other than script extender. But everything else, I think easily we create Starfield plus StarSim becomes the strongest space sim. And what I feel this will do for us is folks will come back to Starfield and stay in Starfield because space sims take so long to kind of express themselves. There's so much to do, and it'll help just overall Starfield to feel better long term. And then, whatever Bethesda's working on, I know they had just an announcement, that's just icing on the cake. Everything else that's being built in the VC program, every big thing that comes out there, every small thing, it's just giving people more and more and more stuff to add on to a whole thing. So that's our goal. Our goal at StarSim is to bring more people into Starfield and make the best space sim possible. And we're going to do it. And we're mostly there already as it is. In the economy module, will I be able to be a small unimportant trucker working for a corporation, moving stuff between stations till I make enough to branch out? Or do I start as a small corp? Nope, you don't have to do corporations at all. I think what we're going to likely do, because we had a really good idea yesterday, is utilize anchor point. So you start off, you're just a ship. If you want to just be a freighter, just moving stuff around, you just dock at stations, buy something if it's a good price, take off, land somewhere else, sell it, make a profit. And we already have a lot of tweaks to the terminal information provided, so you can kind of see when you go somewhere, like what's the average price for this product. And if it is better than that, at least it's a good sell. And then we're going to have a lot more stuff in there where you're going to have the big picture. You're going to different stations. If you have satellites you placed, you can pull information in from each of those orbits to get more real-time information for different products. And you can go, cool, over in Jemison, they've maxed out production of, I don't know, crates of something. And then all the way over in somewhere in Freestar space, this place is completely out of them. So I'll make max profit jumping over here, picking it up, jumping over there, selling it off. Now, if you want to go the route of corporation, it's got layers. So we were talking about we would extend anchor point a little bit and have it where there'd be like a business center. And you can go and have a really small office there, and that becomes your center point for a small corp. Then when you have millions of credits, you buy a headquarters in space and plant it wherever you want to have it in space. That becomes like your orbit. And now you have the full-fledged to manage your entire corporation. Yes, I agree, Sweet Pea. I've never been bothered right now with seamless anything. I think we are effectively seamless going through the gates. We're completely seamless going through cruise mode. You're fast enough when you're landing, and you're fast enough when you're taking off. The load screens don't bother me. In fact, I would say when you're looking at cruise mode plus StarSim, those two are necessary. Cruise mode takes you out of the network. StarSim pulls you through everywhere else that's not in the same system. If you're looking at pure, why you need both. Because there's situations where you have to leave the network. Starborn temples are always outside the network because the Radiant missions have to be outside of it. So you need a mechanism to get out of the network. Cruise mode does it. Perfect. So yeah, I think what we have here is strong enough. I think it was more compounded by the fact that you need to go into a menu, you need to pick a location, you need to jump to that location, you're going through a menu, then you're going through a load screen, and you needed a load screen maybe when you had to go inside the ship, and then it was just too much, and now that stuff is spaced. Starfield definitely has a different focus. It won't be able to do some things as well, but there's so much it can already do. Not sure why folks hyper-focus on one thing like a load screen. I think it's a valid problem. I think it was definitely what the critiques that I've seen over the years towards Starfield is that it's too much of you're hopping between content, and there's no in-between. You need the in-between. The in-between is that's the charm of Bethesda games. It's the diversion is what has made these games shine. They're very good at world building. They're probably the best. World building, atmospheric and environmental storytelling, diverting your attention with this cool shiny thing off in the distance while you're desperately trying to go through and find Sean, and you never find Sean because you're just building out settlements and getting sidetracked by everything, and you forget that Sean even exists. that's a Bethesda game. And I think you lose that when all you're doing is fast traveling everywhere as the only option. And I think you've got that back now with what we've done plus what Freelanes did. Because now it's not just hopping to places, you're traveling through space to get to everywhere. And as long as that is filled with content that is changing, living, giving you stuff to do. Right. Yeah. So I think we got it. I think, there's a huge amount of exploration within Beyond Space. There's events that are playing out. There's the simulation throwing curveballs in as things play out. So you have this foundation to give you a lot to enhance Starfield right now. And then now our task is, besides cleaning things up and making it more accessible, is build out more of the simulation. And we're going to be in this for years. Every space sim out right now is 8 years or more. They don't do sequels. They always find something new to make space more interesting. And as long as the engine supports it, we're going to keep doing the same thing. We'll be on StarSim as long as people want to play StarSim. Sweet Pea says, okay, so like what mods does this kind of replace? None? I don't think it replaces any of them. I think we've been testing in such a way that everything that was there before is doing the same thing. Even when it comes to in the future where you're managing your own property, your ships and everything like that, Watchtower and Fleet Command still are effective because you have your own personal hangar, and that hangar is independent of what the headquarters is. You as the player are independent from the player corporation or the player faction in terms of how we see things. So you have complete control to say, these ships are assigned to the headquarters and the corporation's managing them, and these ships in my hangar are my personal hangar for when I want to do something on my own. And so that means that the fleet mechanics in Watchtower and Fleet Command continue to be effective. Nothing we're doing impacts anything, say, in Watchtower at all. So, and even from what Tennessee has done, you can get the wormholes is fine. It acts weird if it puts a wormhole and like a random ship flies into it. I'm sure we'll tweak that stuff, but wormholes is still completely valid because wormholes does a whole different thing. Because what wormholes does is now you have these interconnected positions at random spots throughout the network. So they added even another special layer to get you randomly in other parts of the map itself. So they work great. Yeah, I think the issue with Beyond Space right now for some folks is it brought the learning curve that is very detrimental for other space sims. And if we lock that down and fix that, I don't think there's a lot of massive problems left in what we have right now for Beyond Space.
That's it. Start the docking routine. Come on. Let's go rescue that Vanguard.
Yes, that's the thing. And I think learning curve is going to be something where it's got to be from the community. Like, I'm finding this stuff perfectly fine, but I'm sure all of us in here that do development, we have blinders. We're biased. We have blinders. We're going, well, that just makes perfectly good sense. Why is folks not getting it? It doesn't matter what we feel. We've got to get this working for everybody else. And so that's our goal right now. As long as I'm getting something that says, here's something wrong, and here's why I feel it's wrong, I got something to work with. I can get that fixed. And I think the what we're doing for 1.09 when that's done fixes that 100%. I can't either. And it's not because I developed this. It's I want a space sim that's better than the ones that are out right now. Because now I can play a Bethesda game and a space sim in one. I don't need to split it, play another X4 game or whatever it is. I can just keep Starfield installed. So I'm selfish. Sorry.
Am I glad to meet whoever you two are? Looks like we're all in one piece. Any day you walk away from, right? Now I know that kind of talk. You two Marines?
Constellation, actually.
What? Seriously?
Oh yeah, I'm reading through the.
Yeah, I've heard stories, but I had no idea you all were this dangerous.
How easy would it be to
We've
make
heard
componentary
stories
mods
too.
of this? Pretty
About
easy.
a strange
Um,
object you found
We've done quite a
in
bit. So, you know, the fact that we're having to go through and build these completely indirect for all the other modules, which is a real pain with not having dependencies, but
nice with scanners.
it is what it is.
It'd be
Fine.
worthless to someone trying to flip
Those
rare
mechanisms
things.
apply to everybody. Anybody else can build out
So you're
StarSim.
saying I shouldn't be using it as a hood ornament.
So that's what I want to see. Honestly, everybody else build stuff for
I'll take some
StarSim
weird space art
and
for a
build out
business
whatever they
impact.
want to do.
Hope you figure out whatever that.
And you can do it, if you're in the VC program, you can do it paid. What we'll basically be doing here is we'll go through and have it so that if you need hooks to access certain parts, we'll code that stuff in. That's what we've been doing right now. We've had to basically go and do hooks. You can't, I'm going to get technical here. I apologize for folks. I'll keep it as brief as possible. Indirect dependencies works, provided what you're interacting with is a script object. You cannot indirectly grab a struct. And that's a major, major problem. So what's been happening right now is we've been redoing the code to provide helper functions that lets you access stuff that's in a struct. So once all that stuff's kind of done, we'll just provide a documentation to say, here, these are all the functions you can call that does this, this, and this. We're likely going to open source the entire code for StarSim, so anybody can just look at our code. They're doing it anyway right now, decompiling it. And you can see how much, apparently we vibe coded this, somebody said. And I kind of laughed. Good luck. Tennessee's looked at the code. Yeah, go vibe code this. You can't vibe code this. Like, this is nope. Yeah, no. But it's fine.
If you know how
It's
the engine works.
right. It's funny. It's cool. It's fine. We vibe coded this, and David is AI. So now I just constantly dig into David saying that you're AI. According to everybody, the trailer was AI done. So now I'm actually going through and be like, well, if David's AI, then technically the contract we signed for owners of the company is invalid because I can't sign a contract with AI. I'm sole owner then. So it's a win-win for me. If you want to keep saying that he's AI, everybody wins. No. But no, you can't vibe code this.
We're all AI coding to a lot of comments.
Well, yeah, I mean, are we really alive? Are we in a simulation right now? I don't know. Then, is everything we're doing technically AI? But seriously, no. Let's see. How we go through compliment? Yeah, we already talked about that part there. Yeah, it's the only kick you're going to run into. If it's a direct dependency, no problems. We'll have to fine tune certain things for if you want to add to the network, for instance, we need to go and build a system that lets that happen with the engine bugs that exist right now. You can't reliably load space cells if they're brand new cells, except one way. And that's the way that Bethesda does it, which is through quests. If you do a quest and have a quest place a cell, and only when you arrive, the cell works 100%. It's how they add the shattered space orbits, things like that. So that's it. Now it sucks because that means that anything added on to Beyond Space is waiting for the player to arrive. But I don't think it's a big problem. Like what happens right now in Shattered Space is when you go through and arrive in, was it Varonkai? Whatever that orbit is. That hooks that orbit into the gate network dynamically. So it'll link up the gates between that and Serpentis 3, I think is the fake capital we have in now. That stuff would be fine. But anything else, if you wanted to go through and extend the network, or we've been dabbling with competing separate networks where you have to get coordinates to get jumped into a completely independent gate network. Stuff like that, we got to find a way to do it via quests and by the player. Now that could be interesting, right? You get this coordinates for some kind of quest, that says, hey, I've heard that there's a whole other separate network somewhere and you have to jump to get into it and it's empty. And that would be perfect, where you're literally exploring an empty ancient network or something that maybe was built by the same creators, and you're trying to figure out what happened here in a storyline, and then there's ways for us to interconnect it and stuff like that. That would work out perfect with dynamic space cells. Sweet Pea, I was a teacher for 20 years. Once I play with it, I can make you a lesson plan for your mod so you can make it. Absolutely. Yeah, if we can go find a way to go through and have David go through and make some videos that are focused to teach certain mechanics. We're hoping this also helps by Zyla playing through, and then we'll take snippets out for us actively using StarSim features and kind of seeing the flow as she's opening the map. But we want fine-tuned videos because it's complicated, and it's complicated now. It's only going to get 1,000 times more complicated when we start adding autopilot and we start adding in all the stuff you need to do to manage a corporation and trade with stuff and access the stock market. And we need to have this all planned out so there is no more massive learning curves, and we have the tools in there so that you can learn this stuff. Caliber Fox, right away I noticed I no longer need to run mods that fix lighting in space, the visuals of the mod. We built, everything was rebuilt in space. So there's a big problem, it's not a problem per se, but the stars in vanilla don't use the proper colors of the stars. And so we had to go and rebuild that whole system from scratch. The post-processing in space was rebuilt from scratch. The general elements of space were rebuilt. So every aspect of every orbit you go into is completely custom. So the star colors are accurate now when you're in certain systems. The post-processing is done as volumes on each of the systems you're in. Obviously, all the elements that we add into each of the orbits was changed. So yeah, I love the visuals we have in here now. .001, you've got a good foundation. Don't give up and keep fixing, improving, expanding that mod. It has a lot of potential, my friend. Oh, we're not giving up. Nope. Nope, nope, nope. And we already have a bunch of the code already worked through, so I got to finish that stuff anyway, just because. What's that? Where are you trying to go? What are you doing? Get out of the map. Get out of the map. Stop it. You gotta use a network map. We don't use those maps in StarSim. You're all the way in the northwest of UC. Wait, no. You're over at Lloyd's Rock, next to Psi 920. So you are in the northwest. So you went all the way around through the Sol system. So you want to go top of my, let's see, where are you at now? Where'd you go to? I'll go Procyon. Yeah, it's showing you the path. Go through the Procyon will be the neutral space. Past where the Trade Authority and stuff has their headquarters. So you'll just go Procyon straight south until you get to Tau Ceti. Go eat. You're going to Jemison?
Yeah.
Yeah, Procyon, straight through, Tau Ceti, east, brings you to Voss, and then straight north to Jemison. This is the thing, I mean, granted, I've had to stare at this map here for 2 years, but once you get the map, once you've traveled up to the places, you just start kind of memorizing certain pathways you take very often. But we need to go and express that better within the game. Right, Tennessee. Like that's. I think I could see folks, and I can be. Actually, and it was talked about in the general StarSim chat right now as well. I think we definitely need to also get in here. If folks are keeping the Fog of War version of it like we have now, we need the ability for you to be able to sell your map, to sell pathways you took, to buy map segments, so it'll show portions of the map itself, and buy like paths. So like you run into a merchant and they go, then there's a lucrative trade route if you're between, I don't know, Aquila and Grissom, and then it'll show all of the orbits in that path, and it'll be like, it's, I bought this ore and it was, dirt cheap, and I sold it over to this place and they're paying like 150% profit on it right now. So you have these kind of layers for benefiting you as a, you ran into the trigger of one of the events in space, and then you flew off into the damn gate. Jeez. That's a big one too right there. So all of those space encounters that used to be random when you went to planets that didn't have custom content, all of them were embedded into the network itself, and they'll trigger if you fly into where they are in each of these orbits. Those are fine. That's the particle turrets for the scow later on. So yeah, we have those space encounters. So like, for instance, as an example, Mrs. Whitmore's field trip is above New Homestead because they're doing, I think the whole point of it is about like ancient human history. So it makes sense to be, the event plays off above a museum for ancient Earth history. So you'll have these events in places where it makes a lot of sense. It's like all those random UC Crimson Fleet encounters you run into. Their place, one of them actually fires off in Phobos where the Vigilance will be at, and then throughout that channel between the two of them in space. So those events now make sense where they're firing off on top of the ones that we created. There you go. Tau Ceti 2, straight ahead. I'm going to guess right now, Zyla, that this is a asteroid field space anomaly. What's that?
Oh no. Further in.
Nope. It should be Tau Ceti 2. I think you go east once you get through the gate. And it should start directing you over to Jemison. Yeah, those low screens. It's fine. 2 seconds. I can take a sip of a drink for a second here before it pops up. There you go. Grissom. So if you can, Zyla, right now, when you get into Grissom, head towards what usually is supposed to be there is the Deimos armored transport, but you'll see that it's not where it normally is at by design. Which, now that I think about it, we didn't do that for the Colander. The Colander, is that the alien ship? It's kind of in a spot where traffic would come through pretty often, so having a dead alien ship right in the middle doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Okay, so normally Grissom would only be the Deimos armored transport in the middle of it and absolutely nothing else. Now you'll see coming through the west gate, it's pretty far out there. Almost 40 kilometers on the opposite side. It's outside of the normal paths. Now the encounter that Bethesda developed with this is still completely functional as it is. So they had it set up so that basically when you get close enough to that ship, the Crimson Fleet ship that's there engages you and goes hostile. Be prepared for that, Zyla. And then the whole encounter they built in the armored transport is still 100% there. So any handcrafted content that Bethesda did in space is still there, but positioned in such a way that makes a lot of sense. Yep. There you go. So that's our core goal. It was take every single thing that Bethesda made handcrafted. Every orbit that contained something unique, every planet or moon that they build something unique, and they're all in one network. You're not having to throw a dart, pick the right system, pick the right planet to find really cool stuff that they made unique to those locations. And now I will say we missed one thing, and I'm annoyed about it. There's the DeFalco's something estate that the Crimson Fleet control right now. I picked the wrong orbit for a different encounter and forgot all about this one. So 99% of the handcrafted stuff is currently in the network itself. I apologize, I failed. It won't happen again. I think you mentioned it already, but how do you find stuff in space when it is far away from the gates? Are there hints in which direction to go, or is it more like trial and error or luck? Because right now I can't find anything, but that might be user error. Generally speaking, if we have anything that is in the orbit you're currently in, we've done visual cues. So we'll typically have like the kind of give some examples right now without spoiling some really interesting stuff that we did. So some things you're going to find when you're traversing through the network are blatantly obvious, and I'll leave it at that. So you'll go into certain orbits that are designed intentionally as part of our story that you can't possibly miss. Now, for the stuff that we've intentionally hidden, we will always have breadcrumbs pointing to it. So like a derelict ship, we're going to have in the area that the derelict ship is at will be maybe some asteroids around it with, you know, a nebula. Because in our mind, the problem with derelict ships, especially if there are any in areas that ships will traverse, somebody else is going to find that ship. It's not going to wait there for the player. So when we place those, it's got to be placed in such a way that there's a reason why that ship is still there for you to go and find it. So what we'll typically do is we'll have sort of like asteroids that are blocking the visual for it. We make it so that the HUD can't find the ship until you're within 2 kilometers by default. And we'll put, say, atmospheric interference, a nebula, a magnetic disruption, a gravitational anomaly, right on the spot where your health is low. Your health is lower. Right where the spot where the actual ship would be at. And then what will happen is when you get within range of the ship itself, within 2 kilometers, it'll pop up on your HUD and normally, sometimes, let you board. Boarding of ships is messy in Starfield because it's like multiple layered systems that have to be perfectly in line along with the alignment of the actual planets before the boarding will actually work. So even if you knock engines out on some ships in combat, sometimes they won't let you board even though they're supposed to do it 100% of the time for reasons. It's problems with what crew they decided to post inside, and if the crew's not aligned correctly to what the ship's faction is, it'll block your boarding. If the ship has issues with the way it linked the interior and exterior, it's just weird stuff. But you should, in those cases, when you find a derelict ship, have the board option, take it over, and add it to your hangar. Oh. Nope. Gotta kill a few more ships. But yeah, trial and error and luck, I mean, it has a factor in terms of picking the right orbits that might have something. But generally, anything we place, like here, I'll throw one example out right now, because I know, pretty sure I've seen this one pretty much every single time. If you go to, I'm not sending out all the way over there. Nope, nope, definitely not. Not for one. So if you go kind of north from Crete, you shoot through all the Ursa Minor and Ursa Major orbits and a few others. If you keep kind of winding your way north-ish, like there's going to be some winding of the path where you can't go north. You'll end up through like Groombridge. If you go west to Denebola, you get the Mantis stuff and all that stuff's over there. You're going to Andromus, then you'll go east to Bradbury, and then go straight north. You'll hit a star. Now, the reason I say it's going to be tough for you and everybody is that this particular star is owned by spacers. It's going to have the star effects, which makes your visibility basically zero. Then they proceeded to add a minefield in here, so you can't see stuff, and there's a minefield everywhere that'll one-shot you if you run into a lot of the mines. But if you want to chance it and go through the minefield and sneak through it and through the star effects and everything through the west gate to Bardine 3, there's going to be a pretty good derelict that's there, from what I was saying. They're going to be on the outskirts of the entire network. So if you're looking for derelict ships, they're not going to be everywhere. You've got to go far. I mean, it's 300 or up to 300 orbits. I mean, it's going to be on the far outskirts of the network itself that you'll find any derelict ships. They'll never be close, because if they're close, somebody else has already grabbed them. So there's always a logical reason we're placing these down. I hope there's anything closer for a derelict ship. Oh, Indum 3B is close. That
Let's check
is...
my plan while we're here and see if Joe has anything
That's not a
useful
bad
to
one.
add to our
So,
arsenal.
what orbit are you in right now? That'll be easier to get to.
You're back. Did you?
We have it.
It fits.
Because if you can go from Altair,
A bit, but it's
either
just
one
like-
or two, since you tend to go through there when you're going to Jemison anyway.
No, it's the same as
If you
before.
go
It's a
south
massive
to
outfit.
Altair 5 and then east to Indum 2, the place you go to for the Pilgrim's Rest, south into Indum 3B, there's a derelict ship there, and I don't think there's anything crazy in that orbit. That'd be one of them as well. Rosal. Okay, that's perfect. So you're going the right direction.
Welcome to
So
Constellation.
I would go,
As a
if you
farewell
chance
this
it,
time,
I think Razelhaig only goes
we're
west,
going to do great things
Groombridge,
together,
then go north,
all of us.
then go east.
By the way,
Andromus, and then
how would you like to
Bradbury,
take
and then it's a
travel?
straight shot north,
I'm not
multiple
sitting behind my
orbits to
desk
get to
for this.
Bardine Star,
These artifacts
and
are a
then
new chapter for
sneak your way
Constellation,
west
and I'm
to
going
Bardine
get
3.
there for it.
And then
And I
there
want
should
you
be,
to
from what
be
I'm
there
seeing
as
here
well.
in the spreadsheet,
You
and I
got
think in the
this
testing, that's not one of the areas I really dug
Need
into.
someone like you watching my back.
A few others handled that. There, somewhere in there
Right.
is going to be
We've
a
got a few more leads. First,
derelict ship.
there's an expedition that Samco has been putting together. It's in Freestar Collective Space, and he knows it inside and out. There's also the Eye, our
Nice.
star station in orbit. About time for you to meet Vladimir. He's been hard at work tracking down...
You already went to
what
Aquila, right, Xylo?
And last but not least, Noel. Have we heard anything from Barrett yet?
A
The-
courier
the-
from Argos Extractors
the
came by to
contraband
let us know
quest.
packing up the operation.
Nice. So you already had the Freestar Rangers stuff started anyway. So yeah, well, I would say do Samco. This is a good opportunity here to kind of show that since you've already traveled some of it, you don't have to do the gate network again. Yeah, you need to push this near the bottom. If anything changes any of the vanilla scripts we had to change to make these features work,
I'll let him
the entire thing is busted. So we don't want to chance it at all. It's got to be at the bottom. I think Tennessee's found you can do like UI stuff can be below it. Asset only changes are fine. But there's been some weird stuff where even things that aren't interacting at all, we've checked it. There's no changes to the records. There's no changes to the scripts. And if for some reason, if they're below us, stuff just randomly doesn't work.
Just a friendly jab. Small group like this, you'll learn more about everyone than you ever wanted to. Kind of all that family is in a way.
Like more than you'd ever want to know. Hello, kids are around, people. Kuriko, by the way. Hi. Nice to meet anyone brave enough to fly the frontier.
Know a thing or two about spacecraft, do we?
Hey, don't spook our new friend. Frontier's a fine ship. Honest. Now, let's talk business. Sarah tell you about the expedition? Sure enough, that's where we're heading. The three of us are heading to Aquila, first settled planet of the Freestar Collective, and, not coincidentally, the home of their capital, Aquila City. We'll land in the city's spaceports, but the frontier's our goal. It's rough country. Spawned a lot of stories. And I got a lead on a tale that makes me think one thing. Artifact. Okay. We'll meet you on board your ship. Talk more when we get there. Once we land on Aquila, it's gonna be you and me. So if you want to do any freewheeling before then, Cora and I will just be riding passenger.
So I think, Zyla, the most important thing to show here is you don't need to take the network now to get back to Aquila City. So I think it's crucial to understand the network is, you're clear in the fog of war. Now, if you want to joyride through the network to get everywhere because you just like doing that, to see the sights, by all means. I think once autopilot comes live, that's going to be a big one to let you joyride while doing something else versus just sitting there in the pilot seat. You can go through and let the autopilot take you to these places and then just look out the window and see stuff. You can go and we've tested research stuff works fine even when you hit the network and it moves you. Crafting, talking to people, all that stuff works fine. That's not good. Glad to hear that she didn't drive through the driveway door. Thank you. Yeah, it's glad to have you on here. Hopefully this really kind of broke down kind of what we're doing here, and you know, obviously 1.09 should clear a lot of things up as well. We're gonna probably push that as a separate patch. I think we need to get all this stuff out, and I'll make Sarah happy as well.
Yeah, what is it?
If it belongs on your ship, then I'm sure we have it for sale. Hi there! Thanks for stopping in. Feel free to look around. I can take care of transactions, and if you've got questions, just... Oh, please, take a look. Oh, please.
What happened?
I sell all my stuff and I was accidentally just buying stuff from the vendor instead.
I did that so many times.
Thanks for coming in.
Zero Prime, a sweet PVC showcase would be great. She's one of the best Starfield YouTubers because she actually knows how to play the game. Yeah, I mean, we'd love to see that. We've effectively been in soft launch right now. There's not been a lot of stuff besides a little bit of things that we're doing. Next week's going to be a lot different. especially with stuff we're kind of building right now. So obviously we have the new video, which will go live tomorrow. Operations page as soon as they approve it. So everything's a little more clearer for the what this is. And then I think just once folks understand a bit more, you know, it clicks. Like that's the same thing we ran into when we were developing it. Like it just, once you do it enough, it clicks. It's that initial learning curve. And then it's more looking at the complementary nature of this in Starfield. It's not something you just play through a quest. It's you start a new game up and you just play Starfield, and StarSim throws stuff in between to mess up what you're attempting to do. It's probably the easiest explanation of StarSim. We're going to do everything in our power to stop you from going. So, well, Xyla, I think your fortitude's going to make you definitely take the path over there. But, well, no, actually, but don't buy the gateway now real quick here. Go into your,
I'll jump to anywhere nearby. My grab drive isn't strong enough.
You gotta, oh yeah, it's the frontier. Yeah. Well, if you've upgraded your ship past the frontier, you can just jump right now to that Aquila. So you don't have to use the gate network to get everywhere all the time. It's a one-time deal, and if you technically hate the gate network, by all means, don't use it. It's still going to be utilized by the simulation for all the AI ships. They use it all the time, but don't use it. Fast travel right to where you need to go. Or I like what Sarah does. Sarah has learned the system hop. So what she does everywhere she goes is she, especially because she knows the map, she knows where the system boundaries are. So like for instance with Marion, your system boundaries out of Freestar space is Crete and Sumati. So she'll cruise mode to Sumati, then gate into Altair. Then she'll cruise mode to Altair 2 and gate into the den. And you do this as a way to kind of hop systems while not having to bring any menus up. So there's some interesting mechanics that play out when you're combining both systems that lets you kind of get through places quicker without bringing any menus up, hunting for places to go to, all that stuff.
Yep.
I feel that was a deep cut towards someone specific. If you know, you know. I said this last night. Here's my stance, right? Certain people, if I'm understanding the implications here, love Starfield. Now, let's be fair. The consensus that gets you views right now is Bethesda's bad, doesn't know what they're doing, and their launches have been horrible. Have they earned some of that stuff from the perception of stuff with Fallout 76's launch and things like that? Maybe. I don't think so. I've played hundreds of hours in all their games, but I'm a huge fan of their stuff. I'm not the right person. But fine. That's right now, if you're building a business, that's what you do. Negativity, negativity, negativity. That's it. But what I will say here is everybody's looking to have Starfield be better. And they want a better experience for themselves, and it helps for if they're showing content. So I think that's the big thing. I don't care how people express themselves, right? I'm military. You can't express yourself in any way that I haven't heard already in the military. I don't care. As long as you're expressing yourself however you are, and then in that is this is a problem with this stuff here. You're saying absolute horrible garbage, because that part's what I care about. And that's what happened. And so if that's happening, I'm good. I'm happy. Because now I'll go fix those things and then showcase the changes rapidly, as much as let us do that stuff, and go from there. Yeah, I think it's a tough one, right? So Rothro said, I think there will be two groups for this. People that get it and want the merge of RPG and a space sim, then people who don't get it or won't get it or don't want it. I've seen a lot of people join the Discord and quickly what's going on here. I think what we need to convey a lot more is that there's plenty of people who don't like space, don't want their own ship, don't want to do space combat, even if we have a lot of features in StarSim. And what we have to convey on this is how this transforms the flow of the base Starfield game. Now, this is difficult because if you've already played Starfield 50 times, you don't really want to do a new game, and you're not getting any wanderlust from playing the game itself because you already know all the story. It matters a lot more for new people coming in that don't have foreknowledge of everything that's going to happen. But the flow of the game is what matters. This whole process of Xyla going through the network right now, think about, actually, this is a perfect example of Xyla, right? So you said before you can't even grab jump over to Aquila, right? Right. So mechanics-wise, if that was the case, when this has happened to me a few times, now you're going into a menu. Now I can only jump to the place I can jump. So I need to go pick the place I can jump to and then jump. Then go back in the menu and jump to the next place closest to where I'm trying to get to. Then go back into the menu. That is not a good flow. Versus, you're just flying through the network. You're not getting out of the pilot seat. You're not bringing the menu up. You're seeing stuff happening around you. Maybe you're scanning some of the planets to see if there's any places to go and investigate, or big battles happening, or you're scanning stuff. You're given stuff to do through the whole way and not going into menus. That's key. And I think no matter if you like space or not, when you're going from Jemison over to Aquila because Samco wants you to go there to figure stuff out, you have stuff to do all the way through. Or if you have a strong enough fuel tank and grav drive, you just jump right over to it and skip all the stuff and do one jump. So you can do what you want, when you want, how you want. But for me, and when we've been doing the testing for a very long time, the in-between is the most important. The filling of the content between places in space. Where are you at right now? You're in Sumati?
Yeah.
I think so. You're in Narian right now because you're going to Vectera. You want to go to Crete.
Is that Anselon for...
Or Anselon. Anselon's good. Right adjacent to Polvo.
Yep. And then might be able to get to it.
I would do is Anselon. Once you land in Anselon, go through the gate to Polvo. Then take Polvo to... God, what's the edge of Fallon? I don't know. I guess we'll find out right now. Yeah, Rothu says, this is how I wanted to test and execute this in the first place. With how deeply we dug into everything, I think they were trying to. Honestly, if I'm guessing on how this played out, they were doing all this stuff all over the place, building all these things. Microsoft buys them out and says, you're going to be developing this for 15, 20 years. You need to go back to your roots and just build the stuff that you're good at from the previous games and cut all this other stuff. So it seems like there's remnants of that kind of stuff where they were attempting to do that. You see kind of these fake systems that were left in, the fake traffic in the vanilla game when you go to Jemison, the contraband checks. There was attempts at station traffic where they would have ships landing and taking off from stations that was cut completely. They were trying to do this stuff. And I guess it probably just got cut because it was too much. It would take too long to launch the game. So I respect the fact that they went back to their roots. They've never done a space sim. It would take a lot for them to learn like we did with us. And I would say that maybe it's something where they're looking at this and going, okay, cool. We still were able to have somebody build a space sim in here and kind of go from there. Because I will say, they're pretty amazed at kind of what we built here in the technical aspect of it and how we had to do it without engine access and stuff like that. But Mayatha, is Mayatha in the same in
so.
Cheyenne? Okay, so this should let you get right to Aquila.
I think I need to go to Barrow or something. Yeah, Montera, and then I should be able to get to Aquila, because I think...
Yes. Montera for sure. Tennessee says, I have found myself grab jumping mostly for quests, and then when I want to do some POI raiding, I fly through the gates. That's what I did, especially for Crimson Fleet, because I was on that one, because I had to make sure that final battle worked. Then we had some bugs originally with, like, Jade Swan wasn't working. I just fast traveled every time to get over to the key. There was no way I was going to do the gate every time when it sends you as far as it does. So yeah, definitely. And in the same way when I play X3, when I played those games, it was a one-time deal. I would open up the gates, and then I would only use the gates when I was adjacent to the location I had to go to. That was it. If it was 2 or more hops, I fast traveled and just used the jump drive. And that's perfectly acceptable. I think that's the best way to do it. I think you've earned, by going through the fun of removing the fog of war from the map, that you should have something you earned by doing that, which is jumping everywhere.
It's kind of similar to, like, when you're playing, like, the older Bethesda games like Skyrim and Fallout. Because you need to travel to those places first before you can actually start fast traveling to them.
Space feels vast now. Nah, it's tiny. It's a tiny space now. There's nothing in it.
Old is beyond.
You use Papyrus only so that consoles can have the mods too, right? Does that limit the possible features a lot? And if so, will you go as far as you can into Papyrus and then do the rest with Script Extender, or is that a no-go? Well, Papyrus is the only way to do it. It's the only way you can do code for any of the Bethesda games. So it wasn't using it because of consoles. It was using it because you have to use it. Even if you have Script Extender, you're still coding in Papyrus and you're like interacting with certain things. But I'll tell you right now, Starfield has definitely expanded from Fallout 4's rendition and from what Skyrim can offer. There's not a drastic set of differences, though, necessarily between Fallout 4 and Starfield's version of Papyrus, though. But I think you can do anything in Papyrus. It's just you have to wrap your mind around how, in perspective of how Creation Engine works. So, like, we're never. I'm saying this as a finality, right? We're never going to need to use the script extender. Period. Consoles are not. I'm telling you right now, provided the engine allows it, it's not like a fundamental something missing in the engine. We can do every single feature we want, 100% through Papyrus and the Creation Engine. I have no doubt, none. And the benefit here of being able to do that is, yes, the console can access it as well as the PC side. So, no, I don't see any limits on possible features. We've proof of concept almost all of them. Oh no, you're good. We've proof of concept every feature, pretty much across the board. They're in varying levels of completion. I think in many cases, most of the features are basically done, and the issue isn't really the feature, it's presentation. The part that kills us is terminals are basically the only way we can convey a lot of information that you can interact with. We can't easily create elaborate HUD elements. A lot of the tricks, for instance, with Fallout 4 and Sim Settlements is that they used a loophole where there was a function you can call and pass whatever you want into it, and they kind of jury-rigged a system that let them communicate back and forth between what you see on the screen and the data inside a papyrus. That's not the case in Starfield. In Fallout 4, they would use the way that you can send information back and forth for the holotapes, where you can play the games and stuff on your Pip-Boy. And it was a function that was also used for, they had that actual Pip-Boy you could buy, and they needed some way to send information to the physical Pip-Boy you can use on your arm that had to interface with the game. That doesn't exist. The one thing we actually did tests on this, there's a function that's supposed to allow you to pass information into the Constellation Watch. I guess they did the same thing where you could buy a Constellation Watch and it would output information from inside the game, except they changed it in such a way that it's never getting to the HUD. So we had no hooks. We actually went through and put logs in every single bit of code that they use, the action script that they use for the HUD effects and stuff like that, and none of them are called from that anywhere. So if you have no way to really communicate with the HUD, you're stuck to a point. So we have to basically convey all this in terminals, and you're fairly limited in terminals because you can't do any kind of formatting and stuff. So it's just messy. So we got to find a way to present all this information and not overload, and do it as cleanly as we possibly can with the confines of what we have with the terminals. So that's the hard work. It's going to be a lot of just testing and cleaning up and cleaning the presentation up, and then tweaking the obvious bugs that will happen all the time before we are comfortable with the features themselves. This is why, if you followed the program or the project for a while, we've had a lot of these features we've showcased before. The orbit view map is awesome, and we'll get that back in pretty quickly. But utilizing it is a lot, and that wasn't to our standards. And so that's something we need to really build up and give it more purpose. There you go. Family fighting.
You know why I'm here. Oh? And what's that? You come to your senses? Realize where you ought to be for once?
I ain't asking again.
You ain't asked once.
Yeah, we did build this whole system for terminals, Tennessee, that gives you formatting, but it's like ASCII formatting. Like we're utilizing ASCII, interestingly, where you can put down, getting technical again, the text replacement stuff. So you can basically put a code in the text replacement, and then our system picks that up and puts in tabs and puts in lines and stuff like that or whatever, and that's how you get that output the way it is. But it's just messy. Since you can't do, formatting, there's not even markdown or markup or anything, then it's tough. You can't align text, you can't do that stuff. That really needed to be something they had to put in for terminals, especially considering that it does work in data slates and everything, but data slates don't give you any way to interact with stuff on the data slate.
Welcome home, Sam.
I'd love to be able to just do this stuff on the data slate where you have the markdown
It's what you do.
stuff.
Give me a sec. All right, let's talk options. You're flying in the face of my 30.
We're going to be winding down in about 10 minutes.
But all right.
We're at 150 right now. And then I think tomorrow I might be leading this. If you're going to be out tomorrow, I believe, Zyla. So I'll go and run the stream tomorrow.
Well, that's not your decision, is it? It's co-property by birthright. It stays here. Well, it's not your place to butt in. You think I'm not trying to help him? Yeah, I hope so. I don't get it. I'm not flapping my jaw one more second over this. The answer's no.
Here, this is for you. Well, I see your parents didn't skimp on your P's and Q's. I spotted it on our last planetary foray. All part of... Hey, I'm gonna pick things up one way or the other. I'll keep my eyes peeled. Who knows? Check in with me now and again and I might find more. My own father's trying to keep those maps from me. Take it easy.
What do you want? Constellation?
Yeah, that's right. I'm not leaving until I get what I came for.
You really want to keep going on this, Sam? I do. I hope you know what you're doing. Because I can stand calling your shortcomings. Here to the solve system.
All right, looks like the new video that David made is going to become our main trailer. I'll have to go through and get that all figured out.
Where we at? Let's hear it, you old mule.
Had enough of your lip.
Freestar Security! Stop right now!
Happy to.
Hold it right there! You're in all kinds of trouble.
You may have gotten caught, Tyler. Well, because you got caught stealing.
I guess you're smarter than you look.
But you're a pirate, aren't you? Oh. You gave up. Wow, this might actually make it easier for you in the future to get into the Crimson Fleet. Does it, if you're caught in Freestar, do you get picked up by SysDef? Or only if you get caught and thrown in jail in UC space?
Nobody in here right now.
Don't break the law and you're good in my book.
Makes sense. It could.
All right, let's see if we can find the empty nest. All right, let me think. The way I heard it, the readings he was getting were normal at first, then they bottomed out.
Makes sense.
No creature, alien or otherwise, would dare step inside. There.
Did you adjust loot boxes at all to get better loot?
Oh boy.
Loot boxes?
That's a problem.
We don't do no loot boxes. If by loot boxes you mean asteroids, and asteroids give better loot, yes, we did. Storage boxes.
We'll be fine.
Nothing on planets.
Just gotta
but
take a look at what we're up against.
In space,
Plus,
yes.
it's in the middle
Well,
of the frontier, which we already
there's nothing really in the base
no
game that
problems
is
to
hand
help
placed
you
for
with alien wildlife.
like
But the empty
storage
nest
space
is a cave right in
containers.
the middle of Shaw
But
territory. Same outlaws
The ones that we hand placed are custom. And then when the one big change I would say that we did, it's subtle, but it makes a big difference when you think about the grand scheme of things. In vanilla Starfield, when you blow a ship up, the crate you see is a level list. It just picks stuff to put in there from a level list. It's not the cargo that is technically on the ship because the ship doesn't have cargo. When you blow up a StarSim ship, it's the cargo that was on that ship. Now, why is that important? Well, if you follow a freighter and you see it land at a high-tech station, capital ship weapons, then it decides to fly off somewhere that you can blow it up. Now you own those capital ship weapons.
Hey.
They inherently don't matter to your ship. They matter in that they're worth hundreds of thousands to millions of credits apiece. So you can sell them off to a vendor and get that money. So that when folks are discussing about the economy, right, you don't have a direct contact. And I would say the shady aspects are enhanced massively in StarSim, whereas direct economy stuff is not yet. because we don't have the ability to trade with the stations, things like that. But from the pirate standpoint, understanding the economy is crucial. You're following freighters when they go from station to station and kind of guessing what they have on that ship, because that's you figuring out whether or not that target is a juicy target to take out or take over. Or you're just going around and kind of looking at different ship types and going, all right, well, that ship's probably expensive, so I'm going to wait for it to go somewhere, EMP it to knock out its systems, get on there, wipe the crew out, take it off, and sell it because there's no registration fee. So whatever that ship is worth, you're getting that entire credit's worth back, not 85% loss to register the ship, and then you're getting slight amount of credits after the fact. That's stupid. If I want to go through and I got a car that I found, I don't need to register it before I sell it to some other buyer. They just pay for it. If they want to drive it, pilot it, whatever, then they register it. But it makes no difference on the ability to buy or sell something that it needs to be registered. We're 3 minutes, Silo.
Yeah, vehicle, so it's quicker to get across the planet.
Need some work done? Okay, no problem.
So I guess this quest can get progress next time.
Yeah, you could probably shoot through more of that, and then maybe, I don't know, we'll do the Freestar Ranger stuff, since we're in the area, maybe? I don't know. There's definitely a space aspect to it when you're trying to get over to the places that they're at and stuff, so... And since you're dealing with Hope Tech and everything. Celtic says that actually would be an interesting way to handle a pilot's license, probably fairly easy to make as its own mod. I.e., you need to have a Class B license or whatever, and if you don't have that, you get fined. Yeah, it's an interesting thing. It kind of gets in line to the fact that Tennessee really, really wants to have warranties on ships. So since we're going to oblige, we could probably integrate that stuff. Like, you need to have a warranty on your ship, you need to have insurance, you need the licenses for you to go through. Add as much red tape as possible. Make it really feel like it's real life. So I see here you're trying to go and get a Class B license. Like the form you gave us, the 1055-BC, that's actually for a Class D license. You need to go and do the license. Oh my God. Now I'm getting flashbacks, and not in a good way, of that mission in Fallout 76 when you need to get your license. Yeah. They got that motor vehicle office down perfect. But yeah, no, we're not doing that, by the way. There's nothing fun with all of that stuff. Licenses will be interesting, though. And then obviously folks are looking to get space economy in, like the insurance and things or whatever it is situationally on a ship could make sense. Like, for instance, what comes to mind, it almost makes me think of like Tropico, where you do these edicts and you say, you know, I'm going to have a disaster recovery fund so that the ship or the buildings get blown up and I have to go and build them again. It reduces the cost of rebuilding them by 25%, 50%. So I could see a scenario where you pay for insurance on your corporation, and then if your ships that are assigned to it get blown up, it won't cost you as much to go and get replacement ships because you're paying that through the insurance. Now you'd have to go and sit there and think about, you know, is it worth it for me to have this insurance? And fraud, yeah. We want just as much for the honest player as it is for the shady player. I think the shady player has lots of stuff to do in Beyond Space right now when they kind of plan their style out. And Crimson, so I don't go that route necessarily. I only do that when I'm playing in Elder Scrolls because you have to be a stealth archer and you have to do Dark Brotherhood and Thieves Guild. You just do. But when I did the Crimson Fleet testing, that was good. I think the Crimson Fleet storyline is one of the best ones they made. I would have been happy if that was the main storyline for this game, personally. But the battles at the end, it's so good. We need to, Zyla, we need to get through the Crimson Fleet storyline.
Yeah. Probably try to get captured next time.
Yep. Yeah, we're at 2:01, so we're gonna end it right here, and then I should be leading it tomorrow unless things change, because we also have the stream with Crimson at 2:30. So I'm gonna try to go do this before, but if not, we'll let everybody know, and then we'll continue the streams afterwards. We may be doing this only during the weekdays. I don't know. We'll play this one out if we're doing it all through the weekends as well. But I'll let folks know tomorrow if I'm able to go and run it. And then afterwards, Zyla should be able to take it back over again, either during the weekend or next week. But yeah, we're going to keep playing through. What I'd like to do also is when we get more of the 1.09 features in, we might be able to go and start up with that update installed, and we could start showing off what's going to be in that next build, so folks can see north, south, east, and west gates and plotting courses and stuff like that while we're going through here. And then I do think we're going to push that as a separate patch, so you guys don't have to wait. Just grab the patch. It'll be our beta experimental thing, and you can test out all that stuff before the actual main creation gets finished. But yeah, thank you everybody who's on here today, and we're making our progress through the game, and we'll go from here. Thank you.
Bye.
See you later.
The void is yours. Doctor, lawyer, I'll never be life of a drifter. Only life for me. Bang, bang, bang. Vamonos, vamonos.